I'm talking about the dollar.
Beautiful.
Nice.
As if people aren't talking about the dollar enough. But I wanted to talk about how a strong dollar actually correlates with the overall market, because there's this narrative that strong dollar puts, a lot more international pressure, I guess, on major trading partners, and with the many of the companies in the S&P having a good amount of international exposure to their revenues, does this actually correlate with a weaker market? So we wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, and look at kind of the data. Do y'all have any thoughts about it? Any instincts?
About the dollar?
That
I mean,
dollar, strong dollar,
some.
weak market kind
I
of
want some
relationship there.
dollars. You mean like that?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that too.
I would love dollars, but yeah, I think strong dollar, weaker market will probably be the correlation we see, or at least historically. Maybe it's fallen out a little bit.
Yeah. These last 4
Yeah.
years are the most that I've ever paid attention to the dollar in my entire trading career. And it started again with 2022, just everything that happened then. And I think this is another time to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I think so too. So we can see what the historical data shows us. I actually found the results pretty interesting because I've heard that narrative before. So looking at the actual numbers in the way that we studied it, I found really cool. So just to introduce, so the dollar is actually doing very well, rising to a 13-month high. And in a lot of ways, people treat it as being kind of like an inversely related, or being inversely correlated with stocks, just because it can weigh on sort of like international trading partners, international economies, and because companies in the S&P 500 have exposure to those international markets as well, pretty significant exposure. That's kind of where the relationship comes from. So if we go to the next slide, we can just talk about like the euro USD, and then euro with the Japanese yen. And it's actually been a strong dollar despite all of the like trade kind of turbulence that we've seen over the past couple of or past year now at this point, past couple of months. And it's been pretty steadily strengthening, especially going back into 2025. And so what we wanted to kind of look at, if we go to the next slide, with also in addition to this, with our yields kind of outpacing pure countries and large cap companies earning over a third of their revenue abroad, we wanted to look at whether the market theory actually supports this kind of like inverse relationship: strong dollar, weaker market, stronger dollar. And to do that, we're doing a USDX. I don't know if you guys have ever traded this or used it before, if you track it at all.
I have not.
Yeah, I usually look at Dixie, DXY, $ DXY on our platform.
Yeah, UUP or DXY.
But either way, it's the same. I mean, you have the right
kind of
weighting,
similar,
like,
yeah. So this gives you like a good exposure to a number of different currencies, with the euro, comprising the largest weighting. So we wanted to look at that relative to the S&P 500, and that's the kind of correlation that we wanted to look at on the next slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Cool. So let's take a look at it. And Jamal, you kind of pointed this out, actually, looking at the strength of that, as I would say, the fluctuations in the correlation. And we've seen kind of a flip. And maybe this is something, I don't trade a lot of currencies particularly, but like it's something that like a lot of people are paying attention to right now. We've actually seen a flip in that correlation with the S&P 500 over time. We were actually seeing like still a not terribly strong, but still kind of like weak positive correlation that's recently flipped to be a little bit more negative, kind of hovering between that 0.2 and negative 0.2 range. So doesn't really get to be a particularly strong inverse or positive relationship, but we're still seeing like actually a pretty significant shift in those trends, in that band of like 0.2 to negative 0.2. So not terribly strong, but still with a consistent enough trend for it to be kind of noticeable. I don't know if you guys have felt that while you're trading at all.
For sure. Last year was confusing. I mean, you can just see it. Like the fact that they were moving together, it just all year we were like, at least half the year was like, this doesn't make sense. And then after June is like, what the hell? I'm just going to trade it the way it's moving. Like I'm not going to pay attention. I'm trying to fade the idea that the dollar markets were moving together. So I think that this is really great slide, Julia, like showing how it does change from time to time. It's not always a bad thing when the dollar goes up on the day and the markets aren't necessarily going down, because that's what's happening today. Dollar's up and markets are up, almost up anyway, flat.
I feel like it's more pronounced. Like when you have that confusing shift, it's likely due to the fact that you have this overarching theme, like the AI trade was like the theme that like it ignored everything else and it pushed the market higher while the US dollar was still strengthening. So maybe there's something to that where you can see there's a correlation of like massive changes in the market in terms of sentiment or some kind of like bubble forming, or whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
relative to US dollar correlation.
Yeah. I think the one, and this kind of like relates to the conversation that's kind of been coming up with gold, right? Like, and the kind of diversification that you can get from gold, which is like diversification is not a kind of a static thing. Like, different assets that we would typically be using for diversification to kind of negate some of the price movements of whatever we're trying to diversify against. We go in and out of correlations all the time. And a lot of it depends on like geopolitical conditions or whatever else is kind of going on in the world. So it makes diversification yeah, I would say not a static thing. It's a pretty dynamic thing, something that you want to be monitoring and kind of paying attention to periodically for rebalancing. And then with like options, right, because we have all these additional parameters, diversification becomes a more nuanced conversation. But I just find this interesting that it keeps coming up with these assets that we would typically use to diversify against, like the market indices and that kind of stuff, where we're seeing like that providing better diversification now in the currencies, at least when we're using like this specific asset, I guess, as a benchmark.
Hmm.
So yes. And then these slides I found interesting as well. If we go to the next one. So when we look at the strongest years for the dollar, that's kind of on that next slide. When we look at some of the strongest years for the dollar, 97, 2005, 2014, we can actually see the S&P also returned some pretty high amounts. We're seeing some variance, but the S&P returned 32% in a year where the dollar was very strong. And what we can see is that correlation was still relatively moderate, actually kind of more neutral. So even though we had kind of like a neutral price correlation, we were able to see years where there was significant strength in both the dollar and the market, kind of going against that sort of like narrative of strong dollar, weaker market. And the correlation doesn't necessarily show that. Just looking at correlation, we're seeing relatively flat correlation and a little bit stronger correlation, but it never reaches the peaks that we see with like the S&P and some other, I would say, more historically neutral assets, if that makes sense. Highest was 0.26 in these strong years.
Yeah, that's a trip. I mean, these, a lot of times when we see charts and when they include years, this, it doesn't have years that's like, the dot-com bubble and the end of it, or like the turn of something. Like a lot of times that's the case, but again, it's the dollar. It's very different.
Yeah. Can't imagine the S&P going up. Well, I don't want to say I can't imagine the S&P going up 32% in a year, because I think it did that last year.
I was about to say, or something like that.
We'll get another one this year.
Maybe get another one this year. Yeah. What a crazy year. But yeah, to kind of that point, it's not always clustered, especially like when we're looking at years of strength, right? Like when the market's doing like really, really well, it's not necessarily within the context of these larger, like market-wide, I'd say like macro scale events. Sometimes it's just 2005.
Yeah.
Or 1997. Yeah. And then if we look at the next slide, we have the weakest years for the dollar. And then again, we're actually kind of seeing a similar trend, noting that we're looking at like very specific data points. We're looking at a handful of data points, and looking at the data in aggregate gives you like a more holistic picture. But when we're just looking at a couple of like extraordinary years when the dollar did exceptionally poor, we're also seeing kind of mixed responses among the S&P. We are seeing in 2003, we did have a very strong year in the S&P, but we also had a very weak year in 2002. And our correlations, again, are a little bit stronger, a little bit, less neutral, I guess I should say, a little bit higher than zero, but still towards the positive side. So correlation doesn't necessarily give you that kind of representation of performance, if that makes sense, when we're looking at these two assets together. But again, looking at a small number of data points, we're seeing something that's a little bit counter to the narrative, where we're actually seeing like a very large negative year in the S&P 500 when the dollar was actually doing quite poorly. And again, we're looking at a small number of data points, and we're focusing on more extraordinary years, but we're kind of stress testing whether or not this is true. And what we can see is like, it's not always true. And we're kind of in one of those exceptional years sort of right now. And we're also seeing, like, as you guys were talking about earlier today, it's not always true.
Yeah, I think this one specifically kind of goes back to the point that I was making earlier, where you have a weak dollar in 2002. You also have the S&P down 24%. At a certain point, you're going to have buyers come in regardless of what the US dollar is doing. And I think that's what you saw in 2003. You saw the dollar continue to weaken, but you saw the S&P up 22%, still net down 2%. If you were to just move that bar up and down over the next 2 years. But it's the same story. Like when the S&Ps are down 20, 30, 40%, eventually you're going to see a rip higher. And that's why we see, when you have the 20, 30, 40% downside moves, the probability of being up the next year or 3 years or 5 years out is in the high 90% percentile. So
that's a crazy 2-year period, man.
Yeah.
Dollar down big like that,
That's
2
crazy.
years in a row, and S&P. I mean, wow, that's wild. That's wild right
But
there.
you allude to an important point, which is that the market is taking in information and reacting very, very quickly. And when you have something like the value of a currency relative to other currencies or anything like, inflation, for example, like the impacts and the long-term effects of those types of shifts can take longer to actually take effect. So the market is really trying to take in information, price it as quickly as possible, react to information. And so there may be delayed effects from these very weak years in the market, very strong years in the market, but they're not necessarily ones that you're going to see right away. And that's kind of like, I think, a bit of this picture as well. That's important to note.
for sure.
Cool. So I think I have some conclusions. So some takeaways. So there's kind of like traditional narratives that the dollar's value should kind of like negatively impact the overall market, but we don't actually we see like weak kind of long-term correlations, and we don't necessarily see a consistent trend that supports that narrative, especially when we look at extreme years. So dollar strength alone, I don't know if you guys use it as kind of a bearish signal for equities, but kind of like we talked about a little bit, that impact in with something like a currency can take a very long time to actually reflect in the market, just from all that kind of trickling down before it actually starts to affect the index as a whole. So, so despite higher treasury yields, a stronger dollar, and significant international revenue exposure in U.S. companies, history shows that the strongest years in the dollar have actually often coincided with positive market returns and actually very strong market years. Although it's not like black and white. We're seeing a mixture of performance, especially when we're looking at that small number of kind of extraordinary data points.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Correlation is not 100%. It's not a flat 1.0, which is why you will have these differences in correlation. Even the strongest of correlations have a pretty decent percentage of when they're moving in the opposite direction. And sometimes it's a full year or an entire year gives you that. But as always, appreciate your research, Julia.